Southwest potato skillet bowl, green beans, and we're gonna bake up a loaf of our sourdough bread. So I've got my Dutch oven nice and hot and warmed up in our oven. And so we're gonna flip out our sourdough onto our parchment paper. And peel it off. There we go.
Now we're gonna give this guy
a nice score and pop them in and start baking them up. So we'll do our nice kind of expansion score. And then again, I'm just gonna do the classic leaf. It's very simple but pretty. And we're gonna put them right back into our Dutch oven that is nice and hot, as you can see from the steam that escaped. Put them in here nice and snug. We'll put our lid on and we're gonna pop this guy in the oven at 500 degrees, and we're gonna bake it for 20 minutes at 500 degrees. Then we will take the lid off and bake it for 20 minutes at 450. So the lid helps seal in the moisture for the first bake part, which gives you that nice kind of chewy crust on it. So we've got it in there. And we'll set our timer for 20 minutes. And let's get on with the next part of our dinner. So let's prep up our potatoes, because our potatoes always take a little bit. We're gonna do kind of a spice, kind of a Southwest kind of flair to our potato skillet. And then we'll do season up our tilapias that we can fry off. And we're gonna make like a little avocado salsa, and then like an avocado creme that we can kind of drizzle over the tilapia at the end. Make it a little bit bougie, and as my oldest daughter always says, where's the sauce? Because she needs a sauce for everything. Okay. We're gonna use part of this onion for our potatoes, and then we're gonna reserve a little bit for our green beans. So I'm gonna just cut off the smaller half will go to the green beans. And we're gonna do slightly bigger, dicing for our potatoes. That way we have just kind of nice big onion chunks. And we're gonna do our potatoes over here. So I'm gonna put in about a tablespoon or so of olive oil into my scan pan, which is like a thinner metal pan with a cast iron coating on it, which means you get a lot of cast iron cooking with it, but you don't have to do as much work as if you've had those like nice big hefty ones. So we're gonna get our onions in there. We'll let those kind of saute up over. I'm gonna start my pan around, let's do a 6. Let that start kind of heating up there. And we've got our peppers today. So we're gonna kind of make some peppers go into our Southwest potato dish, as well as kind of like a little salsa to go on top of the tilapia. So we're gonna use a little bit for both. So we're gonna kind of top out and deep-eared our bell pepper. So I've got an orange bell pepper, and then of course we've got our sweet peppers. You could add in a jalapeno if you wanted to, or poblano if you want a little bit of heat. But again, I like mine a bit more mild. So for the salsa part of my peppers, I'm just gonna dice them up kind of small. So I'm actually just gonna use the top of this pepper for that part, because I don't need a whole lot. And kind of dice it up and get it to the side. And then I'm gonna kind of cut my the rest of my bell pepper up kind of in bigger little, a larger dice, similar to the onions, so that you have kind of good chunks of peppers and onions in our potato dish. There we go. Let me grab a bowl so we can actually start putting our salsa stuff in there. And then for our other peppers, we're just gonna, again, do larger, thicker kind of chunks on it. Nothing too delicate. That way you get a good kind of skillet pepper. And there we go. And then for our spices today that we're gonna do for our fish, we're gonna do some onion powder, paprika, ancho chili powder, cumin, and oregano. So not a super spicy, you know, Southwest flair, but a nice, gives you those earthy flavors without too much heat. Get our sweet peppers going. And again, if you want spice, you could opt for a spicier pepper. Let me get some tongs real quick, and let's toss our onions in here now that our oil and our pan should be fairly warmed up. Just gonna kind of break them apart. Give them a little tap. As they warm up, they'll start to come apart a little bit more. Okay. And then for my last little pepper here, I'm actually gonna dice it up small again for our salsa. So you have that mix of that red and the orange in there. Give it a little pop of color. And we'll cut a little bit smaller. I always cut my peppers from the inside versus the outside in. That inside gives you a little bit of grip, so you'll have a better grip on your pepper when you cut it. Okay, so we've got our peppers, our red and orange peppers. I'm going to steal a little bit of this onion to add for our salsa as well. Not very much. Just a small amount to give a little kind of things. But I'm going to mince it up so it's nice and fine, so you don't get too strong of that onion flavor. Okay. And then for our potatoes, I'm going to be using some Yukon Gold potatoes here, but you could use a russet. With the russet, just give them a quick peel. With the golds, you can just give them a good wash, and then their skins are very delicate, so you can keep them nice and on there. And then I'm going to cube these up, not super small. We do have a good amount of time to kind of cook up our potatoes here, so I don't have to do super small on there. That way you get more of that rich kind of potato skillet to it versus a hash brown. Now, so I'm kind of cutting each potato into thirds and then slicing it down. This goes with me. And then once we get our potatoes sliced up, we're gonna season up our tilapia, and we'll prep our green beans to get ready to go into the oven during the second kind of portion of our sourdough baking there. And then we've got to make our potato overboard. And then we'll make our, we'll finish up our salsa, and then of course make our little avocado creme. Potatoes all done. Let's give our onions a little bit of a toss here. Put these guys up. And then we're going to throw in our peppers and let those start to saute. We don't need to cook these until they're completely caramelized in here. Because with like our skillet, the potatoes, we kind of want that nice onion and pepper flavor to it. So we don't need the caramelization like we do with some of our other dishes that we use onions in. Okay, let's get our peppers in here and get those kind of toasting up. Okay. I'll give this a quick kind of toss. Kind of coat them all up with that olive oil. Oof, those onions are starting to get to my eyes. And then I'm gonna bring these potatoes over here so that we'll have them ready to go in. And why don't we work on our tilapia now? So I've got about 6 pretty large fillets of tilapia here. And again, our spices that we're gonna be using, we've got oregano, onion powder, cumin, paprika, ancho chili powder, and then of course, garlic salt. So those are the main spices that we're gonna be using in today's meal to kind of give them a nice good flavor up. And don't be shy with your spices. We're gonna coat these up with the onion powder first. This is gonna give a nice kind of a crust on the top of tilapia. We're not breading it, but the onion powder really does make a little kind of a crust on it. So it adds flavor and texture, gives you that crisp. So really coat it up. We'll probably use like a tablespoon on this side and the same on the other side. We've got our oregano. Good sprinkle down. Our cumin, which is going to give it that earthy flavor. And those onions are getting me. Our paprika, which is going to give it that blackened look to it when you cook it up. It has a very mild flavor to it. I always say like paprika is like your natural food coloring with food. Has a mild flavor to it, but it will give it a really nice, beautiful blackened color when it cooks up. So you want it more blackened, add more paprika. And then we have our ancho chili powder, which is a pretty mild chili powder. So if you don't like a lot of heat, this one has a smoky flavor to it. It's actually lovely. So it gives you a little bit of a, I feel like it's just a more smoky chili flavor to it without a lot of heat. We'll sprinkle that over. And then of course we'll go with our garlic salt. And then we're gonna flip these guys over and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side because there's no such thing as too much seasoning. May feel like a lot, but when we fry these guys up, a little bit of it will fall off on there. So I'm gonna just flip them over. And then we're gonna do the other side of each one of our tilapia fillets. And don't worry, I know there's a couple parts of mine that didn't get hit, but that's okay. There's gonna be lots of flavor. Okay, and I'm gonna just use my clean hand to do all of this. That way I can pat this last one out. So again, we're gonna go over with ample amounts of our onion powder. It's twofold here. It's gonna give it great flavor as well as a really nice kind of crust on it without, having to add flour or anything like that. And we're gonna go with our paprika. We'll give it a nice kind of blackened color when we fry it up. Nice mild flavor. Just about out. Looks like more paprika is on the list. Cumin. This is gonna give it a nice earthy flavor, which I feel like goes well with those Southwest flavors. And then we've got our, gotta use one hand now, there we go. Our oregano. This just is like an everything spice. It pairs well with so many different cuisines. It works really well. And ancho chili powder. Gives it, again, that earthy flavor. And then last but definitely not least, we've got our garlic salt.
You have a question? No helper?
No helper. He's hanging out with his siblings right now. He likes more of the baking because he likes to steal little licks here and there. He's my baker. So let's get our peppers and onions tossed. We've got some nice good skillet marks on them, so we're going to toss in our potatoes, and we're going to kind of coat everything up in here. get in here without losing all of them. There we go. We're gonna kind of coat everything up with that olive oil. If you find that your pan is a little bit dry, just add a bit more. If it's kind of a dry skillet, that's when you're gonna more likely burn your food instead of get that nice crispy edge on it. Potatoes are like little sponges, so they can suck up a good amount. So toss everything first. That way, just not the bottom of your potatoes soak up that oil. I think I still have a good amount on there, so I think we're good for right now. But if you ever notice it's getting dry or it's starting to smoke, add a little bit more in there. I'm going to grab out a lid. We'll cover it with a lid. That way it can kind of steam cook up a little bit, and then get there on there. This is actually my hex-clad pot lid, but it works well for my skillet too. Okay. Let's check our time right here. Good. Let's get our green beans prepped up and ready to go into the oven for our dinner. And you know what? We'll move over there because my cutting board's over there and it'll be just easier. So we're just gonna do a really simple green beans, onions, and garlic, salt. I think I might toss a little bit of cumin on them to give them more of an earthy flavor to it, to kind of go with everything. So I'm gonna just cut my onion here, just long, skinny ones to kind of match the same style as the green beans. We'll break them apart here. I've got some green beans. And then we're gonna give a drizzle of olive oil on here. We'll coat everything up in just a second, but let me grab my spices. We're gonna do onion powder, garlic salt. I'll do a little bit of oregano, and let's do some cumin and a little bit of fresh lime juice on them. So this will give them a nice, good flavor. We'll sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt over. A little bit of onion powder. Even though we do have onions, this is actually going to give, again, a nice flavorful crust on it. We're going to do a little bit of oregano, about a half a teaspoon. You don't need a whole lot, but just a little to give it a pop of flavor. Probably about a half a teaspoon of cumin as well. I don't want it to be overpowering, but again, a little bit of that earthy flavor. And just a small squirt of fresh lime juice. A little citrus kick in there. We're gonna coat this up. Make sure we have all that flavor on all of the green beans and the onions. Then we're gonna spread these out, and for the last 10 minutes that the bread, sourdough bread cooks, we will pop that in the oven for it to kind of cook up. Let's start cooking off our fillets since we have, we're gonna have to do this in 2 batches because these are pretty large. I'm gonna turn my skillet up here. We're gonna start it on a nice kind of high temperature. We're gonna put just a slight drizzle of olive oil in here. We're not like really deep frying them, but crisping up that edge.
You have a question? Do all the kids enjoy this meal?
They all, I will say, Evie does not like potatoes, so she's my odd one out, but all of my kids love fish. They've been eating fish since they were wee little babies, so they've always enjoyed it. Except, oh, what was that? Shark. They did not like shark, and they do not like swordfish. Those are the 2 types of fish they do not care for. But salmon, steelhead trout, tilapia, cod, they all love like kind of fish done that way. I mean, their favorite way for fish is a fried fish. Again, who doesn't love a fried fish? But can't have fried fish all the time. I'm gonna bring this over here. We can start working on finishing up our salsa here that we'll top over it. This will add, again, a nice little fresh kind of kick to it. And then we're gonna use some avocados and cream and lime juice to make a kind of a avocado cream sauce to go over it. So I've got 2 vine ripe tomatoes that we're gonna dice up for our salsa.
You have a question. Have you ever made snapper?
I have made snapper. It's actually one of my husband's favorite fishes to have. The problem is that it's hard to get at my like regular grocery store. Like I know I could go to like the bougie Whole Foods and get it, but just they don't carry it off. They hardly ever carry it at Costco. And then I can get it frozen, but frozen fish is just not nearly as good as fresh fish. And you can definitely tell the difference because it's more waterlogged, so it tends to be drier when you cook it up because it's just kind of sogged and everything. And when I do fish, again, I like to use fresh fish, and it's just hard to find fresh, although it is really, really delicious.
I think you've made it twice in 17 years of marriage,
Made-
and salmon 50 times.
I think
100.
I've probably made salmon maybe 200 times. I love salmon. My kids love salmon. I think there's something wrong with my husband for him not to like salmon. He's a little cuckoo. Okay, well, we're gonna start frying off our tilapia here. I'm gonna see if I can get all of these in here, but actually I think I'm only gonna be able to get 2 fillets in here at a time. That's okay. Fish doesn't take very long to cook up. Okay, we've got those cooking in there. Our sourdough is already calling us, so we are going to take the lid off of that, and it will have its final cook time. So we cooked it for 20 minutes at 500 and lid off. Beautiful pop. The score turned out wonderful. I always love it when it does. And then we're going to bake it at 450 with the lid off for 20 minutes. So bring the temperature down to 450. And then I'll set my timer here for 20 minutes as soon as it wants to get me there. Okay. And we've got our, I almost called it salmon, our tilapia going. I'm gonna get my spatula out here and we're gonna do a stir and flip on our potatoes. You can see that steam has already started to help. We should have a nice start to our crispy edges on the bottom. Beautiful. We'll season our potatoes up at the very end. I just don't like to do it beforehand because I don't want my spices to stick to the bottom of the pan. Kind of coat it here. Flip it over. Just get all of our pieces kind of flipped up. And then we'll put our lid back on. We're gonna do most of the cooking with the lid on, but the last like 10 minutes we'll take the lid off. Let those potatoes kind of crisp up a little bit faster. We'll pop these in the oven in like 5-10 minutes to get going. So got our tilapia here. I'm gonna rotate, I'm gonna turn my pan down a little bit lower to about a 6 on there. Let's get our tomatoes in with our peppers. Again, I'm just gonna give a nice kind of chop up over it so we have a more of a salsa mix to the tomatoes. Of our peppers, our onions, and then we're going to dice up some avocados to add in there.
About how long do the potatoes take to cook?
We're kind of slow rolling with the potatoes since they're a whole meal. So if you want to do them faster, it can take like 25 minutes, but you can make it to cook them a little bit lower and it can go a little bit slower. Also, I left my potatoes fairly large, which means it takes longer for them to cook on there. But on average, you could get them done as quick as 20 minutes if you cut them smaller, but you could stretch it to 40 minutes if you cut them bigger and go a little bit lower in the temp. Okay, we're gonna dice up some of our avocado here. If your avocado is nice and ripe, it should separate from your skin fairly well, or from the skin fairly well. This is what gives you that pretty nice bougie looking avocado that the restaurants always slice up. I'm gonna flip my tilapia here real quick. I can smell it. See, it's starting to get a nice little crisping around the edges. Do a double here. The paprika and the spices we use is gonna give it a blackened color when we flip it over, which is stuck for this one, so I'm gonna save it. That's kind of the nice thing, but you see how you have that nice dark coloring? That is from both the tilapia and the ancho chili powder. So that's what gives you the blackened coloring to your fish, but it's not burnt. If you don't like blackened seasoning, just skip out the paprika. Good. A little plate that we can sit on. But that's gonna give it that nice smoky, wonderful flavor. Okay. Get our avocado here. I'm gonna just first slice it through. And we're gonna dice it up. We should have some nice little avocado chunks to go into our salsa here. And keep them kind of larger, that way they keep their body and their form fairly well. We're gonna squeeze a little bit of fresh lime juice over our salsa. Wash my hands now that it's nice and juicy. And garlic salt right over here. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit of garlic salt on it and we'll mix it up. And then we've got our salsa. Then we're gonna make our avocado creme. Get about a teaspoon or so over the top of this. You wanna use garlic salt and not just plain salt because it's gonna give you a bit more flavor. When you mix this up, just make sure to be careful when you stir it so that you don't smash up your avocados. You want to kind of keep them in those nice little chunks for it. I might add another avocado in here in just a second, but right now, I think we're good. There we go. And if you have some cilantro, you could definitely throw in some cilantro or parsley, again, to add a little bit more of a fresh flavor, or some green onions. Let's check our fish here. Again, fish cooks up fairly well. I think we're almost ready for it. So I'm going to take out grab another little baking sheet. That way we can transfer our fish onto it. With fish, as I say, it cooks up much faster than chicken or anything else. So we're just gonna slide it on here and transfer it. But because this is not like a breading, it can just go on a flat surface versus being on paper towels or whatnot. But here we go, looking gorgeous. Now my only suggestion is in between frying up or blackening your fish, add a splash more of olive oil on that bottom. That way it keeps it from burning too much, but keeps it nice, a little crisp sear on it. Let's get our next fillets in here. And then we're gonna make our avocado creme. And I have my fish cooking over, it's about a 6, so it's not super high in there, but it's enough to kind of cook it nice and well. There we go. Get those cooking up. Now let's make our avocado creme, which we're gonna do in just a little mini blender bottle. I'll blend it real quick on there. But this will be just a nice little sauce that we can drizzle over it. We're gonna use a good amount of lime juice in it, some cream, a little splash of olive oil, garlic salt, just to make it nice. Put our avocado in here. And if you have cilantro, you could add in cilantro. We're gonna add a little bit of garlic too. think we'll do 1.5 avocados because I don't think we need a full 2 in there. And then we're gonna flip our potatoes here in just a second. And we're gonna pop our green beans in the oven because I think we're getting on to that. Yep. Get those green beans in the oven. And we'll pop them in here. We're gonna go pop these in the oven underneath our bread. We're gonna let this cook while heat, and then we'll know when it's ready, when our bread is ready, because we've got just about 10 minutes left. We're gonna slide it right underneath here. You can get a little, our peak has popped up, so it looks lovely on our bread. Our timer's already set, so those should be ready then. We're gonna want a nice kind of vibrant green color to our green beans for that nice tender crisp. You don't wanna cook them so long that they get brown. Get our potatoes. And then we're gonna leave our lid off for this last kind of 10 minutes of cooking. That's gonna let some of that moisture from the steaming to kind of escape, which has allowed the potatoes to get nice and tender, but now they'll kind of crisp up, and then we're gonna season these here in just a few. We can slide this guy over here. Okay, let's work on our sauce. Add a good amount of fresh lime juice. You want to use lime, not lemon, because lime is going to give you that just pairs well. Lemon's too sweet. And then we'll flip our tilapia over. Again, that paprika and that ancho chili powder is going to give you the nice blackened color on your tilapia. So it's just a beautiful kind of crisped up spicing. Beautiful. These are turning out so nice. And this again is our blackened tilapia, where we use some ancho chili powder, paprika, onion powder, oregano, garlic, salt. Add a nice little flavor to it. We're gonna add in over here about, I wanna say like 1.5 teaspoons to a tablespoon of olive oil. If you have fresh garlic, you can definitely use it. Garlic is fine as well, since you don't need a whole lot. We're gonna add in about 1 teaspoon. And then we're gonna add in about 1/4 cup of cream. And then let's not forget our garlic salt. We're gonna add in about 1 teaspoon or so of garlic salt. And if you had fresh cilantro, you could pop some fresh cilantro in here and it would be perfect. Okay, I've got my little mini blender over here. This is my little hiding spot for it. Give it a good shake. We should be good. So let's see if I need to add any more liquid. We might need to add a little bit. Give it a good stir. Now it actually is pretty smooth. It will flatten down a little bit. It gets really flipped when you, because it's kind of that cream whips a little bit, but it will settle down and get a little bit more salty when you get it poured on there. But I'm going to taste it. Delicious. Doesn't need anything else to it. Okay, let's season up our pepper, or not our peppers, our potatoes here. And then we'll glue it there. We've got a good sprinkle around of onion powder. Again, the onion powder is going to kind of suck up some of that extra moisture, give it a nice savory crust on it. I'm going to use a little bit of oregano. About maybe 1 teaspoon or so. And We're gonna use a little bit of garlic salt on here. And I'm gonna grab some pepper and sprinkle some pepper on. We've got our garlic salt, a nice sprinkle over. Don't mix your spices in yet. Let them sit and steam for a second because you want them to hydrate a little bit since they are dried spices. And then we're gonna add a little bit of black pepper. About a half a teaspoon. Let it sit for just a second there and then we'll add it up. See how our fish is looking here. Beautiful. So we're gonna transfer our blackened tilapia onto our next one. Perfect. Gorgeous. And then we're gonna get our last fillet in here cooking up. But again, before we add it in there, we're gonna add a nice little drizzle of olive oil so we have a good base. Coat it around. Again, our pan is only at about a 6, so just a medium high, but it allows it to keep it nice and warm and coat it up with those flavors. That's that right there. Get this last guy cooking. And then we're gonna mix in our spices onto our potatoes now. Kind of turn and coat it all the way around. Always overboard. And then I'm going to turn my skillet up now at the very end to a little bit higher to really crisp up at the very end. But they have to have a nice flavor on it, be tender all the way through, but yet have that great kind of fried edge on it. So it's just a really lovely skillet. And then let me grab a fork. I want to make sure I have enough garlic salt on it. That goes around.
You have a question? Where can they find your recipes?
So all of my videos from our streams, I put on the link on our page, so people can always re-watch the videos just by searching for their title. You know, this will be Blackened Tilapia with Southwest Skillet potatoes. I do send out some recipe cards for our members a couple times a month so that they have some of the recipes readily available for them. But for everybody, they are digitally available on our, the link on our page. Beautiful. These guys are ready to flip. And I find the 2 spatulas allow you to flip it much easier than if you tried with just one. It gives you kind of that nice base to flip it over with. But here is our beautiful blackened tilapia. Again, the paprika and the ancho chili powder, but mainly the paprika gives you that nice kind of blackish color to it. So don't think of blackened as a burnt, but it's those spices that toast up that give it a rich color. Okay, let's mix this around one more time. Squeeze just a smidge more of our fresh lime juice in here. And then I'm gonna give a smidge more garlic salt, but then that will be beautiful and perfect. And it will see as it sits, the cream part of it settles down. When you blend it, it whips it into almost like a whipped cream, but it will settle down on there. Just makes it easier. There we go. So now, see, you've got this lovely kind of cream sauce that we'll be able to dollop on top of our fish. And then let's see if our salsa has the right kind of flavors to it. Beautiful. Those don't need anything else on it. Our potatoes here are just about ready, and our sourdough is just about ready. Okay, I'm going to turn these guys off. Our fish will be ready here. I'm going to bring it down low. And then let's start getting ready because our sourdough's about to come out. Our green beans will come out here in just about a minute. And then we'll be ready to serve up dinner. Here we go. So let me grab my cutting board and a plate. And then we'll grab our green beans out and our sourdough. And then I'm going to turn off my blackened tilapia here because it should be ready. I'm just going to pull it to the side, remove a little bit of that direct heat. Okay, let's go grab these green beans out, and then we'll get our sourdough out of the oven, and we'll be ready to cook up or serve up. Maybe we'll take the timer off because we don't need it to beep at us in about 2 minutes. Beautiful. So here are our wonderful green beans that we spiced with that kind of that lime and or a little bit of cumin and oregano, black pepper, garlic, salt. And then we have our gorgeous sourdough bread that will be delicious with our dinner as well. There we go. Slide this guy over here so I have it for plating. And then let's get our sourdough out of our Dutch oven because the trick with keeping your sourdough just perfect is making sure it doesn't sit too long in there, because the longer it sits in your Dutch oven, it toasts up the bottom even more. And look at this beautiful kind of golden brown. I like to call it a blonde bake, because if you bake it for too long, it gets really, really crunchy. So it's hard to, like the next day, it gets the skin or the outside of the bread's too hard. Okay, guys, we are ready to serve up dinner here. Oh, everything, I love it when everything comes out perfectly on time. Let me grab my tongs over here, and let's get ready to serve up. Okay. For dinner tonight, we have our skillet potatoes that are filled with onions, peppers, seasoned with oregano and black pepper, garlic, salt. And we're gonna serve that with our blackened tilapia that we seasoned up with paprika, ancho chili powder, cumin, oregano, garlic, salt, and onion powder. We have our Southwest kind of themed green beans and onions with, again, a splash of lime juice on there. Our fresh avocado, tomato, sweet pepper and onion salsa. And to really bring those flavors in the fish together, we are going to give it a dollop of our avocado creme, which is made from fresh avocados, lime, garlic, and a splash of cream and a bit of olive oil for just this great flavor that brings everything together. And of course, we will serve it with a slice of our sourdough bread. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page and search for what we made. So we've got our tilapia, our skillet potatoes, and sourdough, and you can always watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear in it. We've got our hex-clad pans, my knives, my cutting boards, all my bakeware, all the different things I use in the kitchen, and there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget